I'm the commercial attaché and Greg's deputy, working at the U.S. Embassy and with the Department of Commerce. It's my esteemed honor and privilege to introduce the first panel and the first panelists about achieving business success in Romania. I'd like to introduce President of the Romanian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Mihai Daraban. Managing partner of esteemed law firm Wolf Theiss, Brian Jardine. President of the American Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Jacques Michel. His Excellency, Minister Ilan Laufer of Business Environment. And President of the American Romanian Business Council, Mr. Eric Stewart. Just a technical note, after the Prime Minister left, our interpreter left also, so Mr. Laufer will be speaking in English. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josh. I am Eric Stewart, the President of the American Romanian Business Council. We're based in Washington, D.C. It's the only organization in Washington focused 100% on Romania. I can tell you that the American companies that belong to our organization are very, very bullish on doing business in Romania. And it is our hope that you, as American companies here in Romania, some for the very first time, will sense that bullish feeling that American companies, the large American companies that we work with, have experienced thus far in doing business in Romania. I will tell you on a personal note, I've been coming to Romania for more than 15 years and doing business in Romania as a government official and as a private sector official. And I can tell you that the welcome you receive from Romania is very much heartfelt. The willingness to do business with American companies from Romania is sincere. And I will tell you, the Romanians that I have worked with over the 15 years will work very hard for you and with you in the event you do business in Romania. So I strongly urge and encourage all the companies that are here to take advantage of that. Now, is Romania perfect? No, of course not. Nowhere is perfect. The United States is far from perfect, and even more so nowadays. It's getting a little crazy in Washington. But I will tell you that they will work hard, and if you haven't felt that warmth and that welcome, then you have really severe jet lag. And I encourage you to get a little bit more sleep because it is really there. And it's not just a sincere willingness and heartfelt that because you're at a conference. It will go far past the conference and it will continue on for as long as you and want to do and intend to do business here. So that's my advertisement for Romania. I strongly encourage you to do business here. As you have heard from the introduction of our panelists, we have a lot of experience doing business in Romania from the esteemed panel that we have. They have played each of them have played an instrumental role in strengthening the business community, a lot of times by creating opportunities like this, but also by criticizing the government and showing the government where they need to improve. And that's an important part of continuing to become closer and closer to perfect. Now, my hat's off to the Department of Commerce, obviously, for organizing this, and the U.S. government for organizing this. I actually thought when I saw that it was at the middle to end of October that they were doing this specifically because in the U.S. we have Halloween coming up. And for those of you who don't know, there's a very famous character from Romania named Dracula. And for those Romanians who don't know, in the United States during Halloween, there are millions of children running around going to houses begging for candy, and many of them are dressed like Dracula. So I also encourage all those Americans that are here to purchase something really cool for your family and for your kids while you're here and take it home and courtesy of Romania and courtesy of Dracula. Hopefully that will be a hit. I know it will be a hit with my kids. I hope it will be a hit with your children as well. As the ambassador had indicated, the Romanian economic partnership goes well beyond that. Romania is one of our most strategic allies anywhere in the world. The Romanians are fighting with us on every front. Romanians have been there for us as strong partners and strong friends everywhere around the world and continue to do so without question. That's the good news. Now let's get to some of the challenging issues. You have a panel here that knows a lot about the challenges and the pitfalls and the impediments to doing business in Romania, and hopefully you'll be able to learn from their experience. So I'm going to start with Minister Laufer, my friend. Prior to joining the government, Minister, you held various senior executive positions across multiple industries in Romania, including real estate, fashion, and investment firms. As a Romanian doing business in Romania, what are the keys to successful entrepreneurship here? What challenges did you face, and how can the American companies here today avoid those pitfalls?
So first of all, I would like to say hello to everybody and to wish you a best stay possible in Romania. As you said before me, I think there is a very, very special thing about Romania in the relationship in the United States. And this year we are celebrating 20 years of strategic partnership for the security of the region, and not just that. And first of all, I would like to introduce you some essential information about Romania to understand a bit more about the country. So if you can help me with the first page. Okay, so you have here, you can see many information about Romania, because I think it's very important to understand more about the country and about the geostrategic position and about the opportunities before we go to let's say, to answer some very specific questions. So first of all, the population of Romania, it's about 20 million people. Bucharest is the capital city, and together with the metropolitan area, it's about 3.5 million people are living here. We have a very, let's say, rating. As you see, it's a BBB stable, and I can tell you that Romania is playing a very important role in maintaining the stability in the region. The GDP growth of our country, as the Prime Minister said and the President sent the message, is the highest in the European Union, the fast-growing economy. And we have 5.8% GDP growth in the first sector of, in the first semester of 2017. The total FDI stock in Romania, it's about 70 billion. And of course, we are a bridge between the East and the West for 500 million customer market, which is the European Union. Of course, it's important to understand the context that Europe is facing now, also with the Brexit, but also other changes that are happening in Europe. And that's why I think there is a huge window of opportunity investing in Romania, and I will come also later to argue my position. We are members in NATO since 2004, and we are celebrating this year being members in the European Union 10 years. So we are celebrating 10 years being part of the European Union, and I believe for those who are visiting the first time Romania, or those who've been here before, they can feel that really Bucharest is becoming more and more European city, and it's actually in the top 10 cities in the European Union as size. So very important, and as you can see actually the country presentation, we are insisted on the partnership, on our strategic partnership with the United States, but since I became Secretary of State for Foreign Investments early this year in January, I met with Josh, and we decided that we want to push as much as we can also the increasing of the trade and economical partnership between our countries. So I think that we did some, let's say, very important steps. So now we can go to the second page. So it's very important to understand the position of Romania in Europe mainly. And as you can see, first of all, Romania, it's a very attractive economy, but it's also attractive for other companies because Romania represents a gateway to the European Union. We are the second large country in the Central and Eastern Europe and the largest in the Southeastern Europe. We are the 9th in the EU 28 by size and 7th in terms of population. As you can see, Romania plays a very important role from geostrategic position. We are connecting three important markets: the European Union, the CIS markets, and of course the Middle East. And I think a huge advantage, which is very important to, let's say, to point, is the fact that we have the fastest internet broadband in Europe, which helped us very, very much develop the IT and ITNC sector in the last 10 years in our country. Next page, please. So, okay, so here we can talk a bit about the potential growth, and I think it's very important to show you how the market evolves in the last 10, 12 years. So, as you can see, the market was very affected by the crisis, which started in 2008, but it's really hit the market 1 year later. And you can see how fast Romania started to recover after 2012, 2013, and right now we arrived to be the fastest growing economy in the European Union, which I think is so important. And in terms of FDI inflows, you can see that, of course, before the crisis, Romania really started to become a huge attraction in the area. But after that, when the crisis arrived, actually the crisis in Romania was different, because we have many companies and mainly financial institutions working in Europe and in other parts of the world, and they were also very affected by the crisis, and they just decided to take out liquidities from our market. So it was this main issue during the crisis in Romania. As you can see, since 2013, again, also the FDI inflow started to increase, and it really increases very fast in the last 2 years. In 2016, it was more than 4.5 billion euros. Next, please. When we are talking about Romania, we need to understand what Romania can offer. So I believe that one of the advantages of Romania is the fact that we can still offer a very well-prepared labor force for a very competitive price. And it's also very important to understand the fact that Romanians are the most pro-American country in the European Union. And I can tell you this by being here for so many years, and I know there is a special partnership and special friendship between us. So again, I think it's so important to come to a country which is the most pro-American country in the European Union, and to feel a very, very warm welcome. But of course, I think that talking about business, we need to understand also the minimum monthly gross wage in the European Union and compare that to Romania. So, of course, as you can see from the graphic, we are let's say, the second from the end or from the top. So the minimum wage salary in Romania now, it's around 322 euros, comparing to other countries, let's say from Central and Eastern Europe, that they are, let's say, more expensive, and also there is, let's say, less room in those economies. In Romania, I think there is much more potential of growing. Next, and just in 1 minute I will finish. So, related to the skilled labor force. So, as you can see, language studied by Romanian students, and 97% of Romanian high school students study 2 or more foreign languages. So I think this is really, really so important. And you can see here that university students in Romania in percentage are more than 90% speaking English, more than 26% French, 70% Spanish, 8% Germany, and 5% Italian. So I believe this is another huge advantage. When you come as a foreign investor, when you want to invest in a country, you need also to find the right people and to communicate with them. So this language barrier that in Romania do not exist comparing to other countries, I think it's representing also a huge advantage. I just want, next please. I just want to very short explain you about our taxation and overview on the Romanian tax system. So back in 2015, the VAT was really high during the crisis. And it started to decrease and from 24% to 20%, and right now it's 19% for 2018 and 2017. And we believe that in 2019, the VAT will drop another point to 18%. The corporate tax income is 60%, and the reinvested profit tax is 0%. The employee and employer taxes, you can see them there, it's 16 and 23%. And the dividend tax rate decreased to 5%. Also in 2016, it was 5%. And it will remain also in 2017. I think it's very important to mention that for R&D, the corporate tax for R&D companies, it's 0, and also the 0 income tax for their employees. This was a very, very good measure which the Romanian government took also for the R&D and IT&C sector a few years ago. And after that, after the government created the legal frame, we saw that really this industry is going and becoming much and much stronger and representing more and more in our GDP. Next. Of course, it's very important to explain about the support that we offer to foreign investors. So first of all, I'm glad to say that my colleagues are here with me. And in my ministry, there is also Invest Romania, which is our agency for promoting investments in Romania. And you have my colleague here, Paula Povărnescu. She's the Secretary of State, and I'm quite sure that you would like to meet her after. So we are trying actually to offer a full support to all foreign investors which are coming to our country. Doesn't matter if they are big firms, or they are big companies, or they are medium size or small size. We believe in Invest Romania that we should be single point of contact for all investors and helping them with the implementation. So whatever they need from ministers to prime minister to local authorities, we're really trying to do our best in order for them to have a better vision and to be easier for them to implement their projects. So we are here for all of you, and you should know that anytime you should approach us with any question, and we will be more than happy to help you. And I think it's important to mention that Romania is really supporting foreign investment through state aid schemes. So we have many examples from Daimler to Pirelli, to Renault, to others, which applied for state aid in Romania, and they were really supported by Romanian government to invest in our country. So there are just, let's say, two main state aid schemes. One is for greenfield investment, for investments over 10 million euros. The government can provide up to 50% of the investment. And we have another state aid for creating new jobs, in which the government will support the expenses for 2 years with the new job creation. And the last slide of my presentation, it's about our strategy. It's about, let's say, a series of programs and law that we as a minister are trying to implement in order to have a better business environment. But I'll talk about this later. I just want to say that Romania currently is running the biggest startup nation, the biggest startup program in the European Union. It's a Romanian Startup Nation program, in which we're going to finance about 10,000 companies this year with a grant of $50,000. And through this program, we are creating a new generation of entrepreneurs in Romania. 21,000 new entrepreneurs will arrive into our economy this year. And so far, we signed over 5,500 agreements, and we're about to finish the entire process in the next 1 month. So, of course, there is the public-private partnership new bill, which will be sent, I believe, next week to the Parliament. There is the prevention law and also other important measures that we are preparing for a better, for a more predictable and more friendly business environment. Thank you so much.
Jacques, I'll turn to you. Jacques actually wears two very important hats in Romania. One is the chairman of AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce here in Bucharest, but also as the head of Coca-Cola. Jacques, could you tell us a little bit about your experience as the head of Coca-Cola, a little bit about the success story that Coca-Cola has here as a pioneer in doing business in Romania, and maybe a little bit about the strengths and the challenges that you've run into in the Romanian market?
Good morning, everybody, also from my side, and welcome to Romania, welcome to Bucharest. On behalf of American Chamber of Commerce, we're very happy to also see you all here, and we're very happy and we're looking forward to assist you in your endeavors when it comes to doing business in Romania. So please do contact us in case of any questions. Now, when it comes to my other hat, indeed, as Coca-Cola, we're here more than 25 years now. So we actually came and invested in Romania years ago already. And when we came obviously for the potential that was there in the marketplace, the 20 million market that was starting to emerge. And in fact, when we started our operation here, that 20 million was big enough that it was not able to actually be managed by just one bottling operation. We started with 3. So Romania was split into 3 in order to manage this in the beginning. Over the years, we have consolidated this, and today it is one operation. And when we came for the potential of the local market. Today, the investments we make are all in conjunction with local market, but also with export opportunities. So over the last 5 years, we have invested in excess of 30 million euro in production and logistic capabilities alone. And all these investments are not only to cater the Romanian market, but also export opportunities. And today, we are actually exporting to more than 10 countries from Romania. And export is becoming increasingly important for us. So this is definitely one of the strengths. And to support what was presented before, we see Romania as a country with very good geopolitical situation for also concentrating our production here and exporting to countries surrounding. As Coca-Cola, we are very committed to Romania, obviously. We have continuously continued to invest. Even the latest investment was from this spring, in fact, from this May when we opened a new production line. And we see that there are new investments coming also next year. The strengths, I think they were well described on the presentation before. I would definitely highlight the element of human capital. It is a market of very qualified resources. In fact, so much qualified that we recently had a look in terms of how many Romanians through our organization have been going and working for us in the role in wider Coca-Cola system, either in other countries or in group. And that number came to more than 30 people who are actually today, as we speak, working not necessarily located in Romania, but in other places as far as Far East, as far as Atlanta, our headquarters, and are a testament to the quality of the people here and their professionalism and dedication. So that is definitely a strength that I would like to highlight and has helped us also in our journey. In terms of some of the things that have been challenging, I guess all the investors in every country are looking for that stability and predictability. And it is true that historically Romania has had surprising developments which have not always been in full dialogue with the business community. I think we see a definite improvement there, and we see a progress and we see openness. But as for an investor and as what we hear from our members, we would like that to be even stronger. And we would really like that the policy makers would basically include the business community at the very early stages of preparing whatever it is, whatever changes there are, so that we can really voice our opinion and make sure we make a common sense decision for both taking the country forward as well as creating a good investment climate. So this is something that that definitely we would strive to have even more of. But as said before, as Coca-Cola, we are very committed to continue to invest, and we will do so. And as American Chamber of Commerce, we are very much looking forward to help all of you in your endeavors, whatever they may be. Thank you.
Real quick follow-up on the point. When you said you're exporting to 10 markets outside of Romania, are those all EU markets, or are they outside of EU as well?
These are predominantly EU markets, but there are also a couple outside EU, yes.
So using Romania as a platform to go back into the EU, but also out?
Yes, exactly. And actually, our facility in Ploiești, which is less than 100 kilometers from here, by constantly extending this has really become a hub facility where now, in all of Coca-Cola HBC, this is now the second biggest production facility of all. So it's really used as an export hub to all the surrounding countries, but even further. So there are beverages in our wide portfolio that you may buy even as far as in my home country in Estonia, which are actually produced in Romania. So it's we're very proud of that.
And the prerogative of being the moderator, a second follow-up question to your comments. You mentioned the human capital as a strength, but is it not also a challenge as well, as we have so many companies investing in so much success and so much business here? Unemployment is very low. Finding the human capital, the workers that you need, is that also a challenge for Coca-Cola? And maybe I'll ask you for AmCham generally.
Yeah. It has become more so. I would say it's something that has emerged in the last 1 or 2 years more as a potential challenge. Definitely there are geographical areas which are more challenged, especially the west of the country, where we see the bigger investment levels going to. And there we see that the unemployment in some cities is zero virtually. So there are companies who need to actually take people from other cities and villages to satisfy the needs. So this is something that has emerged, and I think it is since, as in by our example, I said there are a lot of very qualified Romanians working outside Romania. I think that is definitely a great pool and a great resource that if there would be a way to motivate these people to return into this, what is becoming a very emerging market, that would be a great help because it is something that is emerging more as a challenge for sure.
Thanks, Jacques. Brian, you've been advising corporate clients for more than 20 years, helping U.S. companies with acquisitions here in Romania. What have you seen as the best entry strategies for American companies, and what should U.S. companies be aware of when looking to acquire or partner with Romanian companies?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Eric, and thank you for the opportunity to be on the panel among such a distinguished group here this morning. Just by way of background, I am a U.S. lawyer who came to Romania in 1996 on what was ostensibly a one-year contract, and I think I took the ambassador's, the Prime Minister's comment to stay in Romania to heart because 21 years later I'm still here. But I think it's a very dynamic market. It's one that we've seen evolve, obviously, since the late 90s and to where we are today. We've heard from the minister how it's evolved post-crisis. We saw the early boom, so to speak, prior to the crisis, which was followed by the drop off the cliff that we saw on the bar chart there. But I think it's safe to say that the level of activity that we're seeing now, I would say lawyers to some extent are sort of the canary in the coal mine. We get the first approach by investors, and I think the type of investors that we're seeing, the quality of investors, and the caliber is much more evolved, let's say, than it was in the early days when you had the more pioneering spirit and some investors coming from places that maybe weren't prepared to deal with the realities on the ground. To your question, I think what's important to understand, and I always say this to clients, and many times I have clients who come into my office after they've experienced a situation, and I always like the old Midas muffler ad. I don't know if you all remember that one. You can pay me now or you can pay me later. And it's always about good planning. I mean, this goes, you would think, without saying, but the reality is it's shocking how many times you get people coming in saying, look, I want to do a deal in Romania. My brother-in-law met the mayor of Pitești, and we have an inside track on this and that. And, you know, maybe 20 years ago, that would give you some marginal advantage. But to be honest, now in this environment with the compliance obligations and where we stand as part of the EU, I would ask the client, you know, if you were trying to do an investment in California, would you get off the plane in LAX and say, I'm going to do business in LA because my brother-in-law met the mayor of Van Nuys at a cocktail party? That's not good business strategy. That's not good business strategy in Romania. So the idea is, and again, I'm not plugging for ourselves as lawyers. It's all types of advisors. It's your technical advisors. There are now companies doing reputational due diligence. So you can diligence your local partners. If you're setting up a joint venture or if you're setting up distribution, you can diligence your partners. Not just from what you read in the press. You know, it's not always the case where there's smoke, there's fire, because it's no secret that the press may be dominated by different political interests. So if somebody is being trashed in one ziarul, in one newspaper, it may be a political agenda there. So what's important is to get an objective diligence. Talk to your lawyers, and I'm not just talking about me and Wolf Tice. I see Gabby's Birches here, and he's got an excellent law firm. There's a number of, a cadre of really good law firms now that are operating in Romania that understand the market, that understand how to do business cross-border, know what the expectations and requirements are. They know that you have to adhere to compliance requirements under FCPA. They understand, if you have, it was mentioned, the data privacy shield. We're doing a lot of work now with the implementation of the GDPR. The need to align data protection, especially in the high-tech and digitalized world in which we live today. Romania really is well-positioned, and I think one of the advantages that people tend to overlook since EU accession, everybody looks at the funds. They say, oh, all this money pouring in because of the EU. But it's not just about the money. It's about the rationalization of the legal system. It's about having a legal system that's uniform and that requires implementation of directives, transposition of certain legislation, which might not otherwise be transposed. To be quite candid, if the politicians would have their way, some of these laws maybe they wouldn't want to bring in. But they're obligated now because of Brussels. And this creates a rational legislative framework. I always cite this as an example to investors if they're looking at other markets like sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America. I mean, one of the huge advantages with Romania is there's still this risk perception, although it's not really there. It's a perception of risk. The reality is that the actual risk may not match the perception. So that delta between the perception of risk and the reality is where you make your money. So I really encourage you to look long and hard at Romania, but to your question, Eric, talk to your advisors, do your homework. Again, it's common sense, you would think, but how many times I've seen investors, I always say they check their brain at Otopen, and then they come and they don't understand why they're mired in all kinds of problems because they chose to partner up with somebody who's, let's say, a politically exposed person or somebody who has less than a stellar reputation or someone who's just not serious. So do your homework, talk to your advisors, figure out your business plan, and as was mentioned around the table, you look at the macro statistics, you look at the opportunity in terms of human capital, digitalization, English literacy, general competence. I think you're going to find this is an excellent market to do business. So those are my comments.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Mr. Daraban, you represent the largest organization of private Romanian companies here in Romania. And I'd like to ask you if you can tell the audience a little bit, where do the best opportunities lie for collaboration between American and Romanian companies? In what sectors do you see as being the best for collaboration between Romania and America? And what are Romanian companies looking to buy, supply, or to develop, in your opinion?
So first of all, I wish to wish a warm welcome to our American business partners. I would like to say that we are deeply valued the strategic partnership of with the United States at the level of Chamber of Commerce of Romania. As Eric said, we are one of the most important business associations in Romania, but definitely we have the largest business infrastructure. So we are waiting that maybe in one day we can organize within Romexpo an American pavilion there to present American products and why not services, because we are trying in our bilateral trade, when we are speaking about bilateral trade, we are trying to split the trade of goods and the trade of services, because the services are also an added value way of doing business. Speaking about the fields of activities, I think that are quite clear. So in terms of energy, defense, obviously, agri-products, IT sector, pharmaceutical stuff. So I think that we all know a lot of things about the fields of activity. I think that the American companies should take into consideration Romania as a hub. We have to take advantage of our, let's say, as even the minister said before, our people is one of the most pro-American people in Europe, culturally, socially, politically, business-wise. So also to take advantage of our geographical position, because at the end, I think that the United States and the American business community can use some other means of transportation, such as railways and road transportation, maybe only within the NAFTA treaty. With all the other, with the rest of the world, the ships and the seagoing vessels cannot be avoided. So we can accommodate in Constanța, for example, the largest seagoing ships, at least in the container market, even in the oil market. But anyway, definitely the largest ships that are allowed by the Turkish authorities to transit the Turkish Straits. So up to 200,000 deadweight tons. So I think that this is very important because also Constanța has is the deepest port at the Black Sea. Is not only a seaport but also a river port, because starting from Constanța you can enter through, let's say, through the Danube, which we are calling the European Corridor number 7. You can go deeply inside Europe and to touch those markets of those landlocked countries, such as Hungary, Slovakia, Serbia, and Austria. So there is a plenty of market here. And above all, we can take into consideration also the ports within the whole Black Sea, in Georgia, in Russia, and Ukraine. So as Coca-Cola started to be already a hub in the region, I suggest, and I'm very much trying to convince you that Romania could be a hub in many fields of activity in this area. Moreover, we have this close distance also with the Suez Canal, so there are only 3.5 sailing days to the Suez Canal. We are also valuing very much the trade coming from Far East towards Europe. Any cargo that is coming from Far East has to transit the Suez Canal for sure. So we have even here an advantage. So I think that, and above everything, so at the date of 31st of August this year, over the last 25 years, we have registered 7,417 companies in Romania with American capital. So I think that the representatives of these companies are maybe the best ambassadors in what we are calling how to do business in Romania. So is a very, very good value to take advantage of these companies. They already have a subscribed capital of 803 million euros, of course, million dollars in the range of $1 billion. So these companies should be taken into consideration, or at least their representatives that are already very familiar and accommodated with Romania. Thank you very much. And anyway, I would like to mention that we can deliver a wide range of informations at the level of Chamber of Commerce of Romania in terms of the solvency of a potential partner, the location, where to do business in Romania, very much depending on your field of activity, your specific field of activity. So we have this potential because a part of being one of the most important business association in Romania, definitely we have the largest business infrastructure. So a part of owning a huge building in Bucharest, we are also the main shareholders of Romexpo, which is the largest fair and exhibition company in Romania, holding 85% of the market share. We also are main shareholders of a company that is providing consultancy and is protecting the industrial property as well as intellectual property. So protecting the foreign brands on the Romanian market and vice versa, protecting the Romanian brands on the international market. And last but not least, we have the International Court of Arbitration, which is in line with all the ICC rules. And even foreign arbiters are registered in our court. So take advantage of this infrastructure. We are completely at your disposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Minister, in order for Romania to join the EU, you had to go through a lot of changes, you had to pass a lot of laws, you had to pass a lot of keys to become up to speed and in conjunction with all of the other European countries. But one of the benefits of that is now there is the EU cohesion funds, up to $43 billion that are available for Romania between now and year 2020. Can American companies participate in that program, and how do American companies participate and access those EU cohesion funds?
So it's true that there is a huge advantage for Romania to get these cohesion funds from the European Union, which are more than 40 billion in till 2020, more or less. I think there is, Romania created step by step a better environment for business. And I think the fact that also in the last years we really succeeded in the end, also from the first exercises of cohesion funds to come to a very well target, I really believe it's a big thing. But of course, US companies which establish their activity in Romania and they can participate to develop the country, to develop their business based on different areas, their, let's say, different rules. But in general, I think this is one of the advantages of Romania, the fact that we access European funds and we help through European funds develop our infrastructure, our industries, and so on. So, of course, I would like them to understand that they're, of course, working with the European funds. Maybe sometimes it's more bureaucratic than normal, but I think it's worth the effort because in the end, you really get a huge support. So this is another big advantage for Romania as a market, as a gateway to the European Union. But I believe that also the new bill which will be sent to the Parliament, the public-private partnership new bill. We created now a new bill which will allow us to have partnerships between local authorities, but also central government and private companies. And we wanted to bring in the new bill a simplified way, simplified procedure, and much easier way to implement that. So I'm so excited actually that after 27 years we will have this new bill in place in less than 2 months, and we created already also the secondary legislation for that for that law. So I think it's very important to understand how it functions because it's a win-win for investors. And I think it's very important to mention when we're talking about the defense industry, because here we also can connect with the European funds if you want to refurbish, to reconstruct, to re-technologize some of our facilities. And for sure, I can tell you that Romania, it was really appreciated by our partners, and also during the visit of President Iohannis to the White House, President Trump mentioned that Romania it's a great friend and partner, and the fact that we allocated 2% of our GDP for the defense industry. So I can tell you that in our view as a government, it's not just about allocating 2% of the GDP for the defense industry and just buying from other markets, but we want to let's say, refurbished and re-industrial the existing facilities, the old facilities of Romanian Army. And I believe here we can have a strong cooperation with the US companies. And as the Prime Minister said earlier, I believe this transfer of technology from the US companies to the Romanian government, to Romanian companies, we just have to look what happened with the automotive industry in our country. So we have two big car manufacturers. Ford just last week, they revealed their new model, which is the EcoSport. And Ford estimated to increase their production in Romania with 300% over the next year. So, of course, because they consider the EcoSport model to be much more successful than the B-Max, but also because the market and this region is growing very much. So 300%, it's their own number. Then we have Renault, which is a huge car manufacturer. They're the first exporter of our country. And if we look what happened in the last 12 years, there are more than 1,000 companies today in Romania working for the automotive industry, working for those big two companies, but also with the western part of Europe. So why, and I believe so much it can happen also with the defense industry, which I think that it's a very, very huge potential there. And we are in the right window of opportunities for Romania with the entire geostrategic situation of the country. And of course, when we're talking about other fields like IT, IT&C software, and I told you, we have really big and very important tax deductions for those companies who want to invest in the IT&C sector. And I just want to give you one example. We have 4 major cities which become IT hubs: Bucharest, Cluj, Iași, and Timișoara. And I really wanted to say that there are more and more companies which are relocating their activity, their facilities to Romania, and some of them are expanding their activity. And if we're looking on Oracle, they have the 4th largest operation in the world in Romania. So I believe there are many opportunities, and I can assure you that in different kind of sectors, that doesn't matter what, we have structured the European funds so you can get them also in agriculture and also in other industries. So I believe the European funds that Romania still will get in the future, and right now, which again, more than 40 billion, it's very important things to mention when you're talking about, let's say, the competitive of the Romanian market.
Thank you. Jacques, let me ask you a question as the head of AmCham here in Bucharest. So in the European Union last year, Romania ranked 2nd in performance. This year, they're ranking number 1 in performance. Are you seeing the American companies taking advantage of that? And are you seeing an additional influx of American companies coming here, or is it European companies? What is your experience as the head of AmCham?
Well, first of all, I think we're all very, very happy about the economic growth, both last year and this year. So I think all the investors here are happy with that and are taking this into account in their plans. I think the numbers have definitely raised interest. There is no doubt. Within potential American investors, as well as other European or other investors generally. So these numbers are numbers that will not be, not noticed. They are such a strong performance. So yes, the answer is yes. We do see more inquiries. We do see more interest in terms of Romania. Which is obviously great, and I think when the companies come, they are so the numbers are they're the thing that sort of interests them and get them to come here, and then the questions are more about the strategy. So what is the strategy for the business community? What is the strategy for the country? And how sustainable and how, let's say, committed the government is in maintaining that strategy and carrying that through. And if that is something that the investors believe in and see as viable, then obviously eventually they will most likely make the investment. But the numbers have definitely put Romania on the map in a very strong way for potential investors.
Great. So we're doing really well. I have 74 more questions to ask the panel, so just get very comfortable. I'm joking. I think we have microphones around if I'm not mistaken. If we have questions from the audience, otherwise I will tap into my 74 questions. I want to open it up for the audience before we have to say goodbye to our panel. So any questions from the audience right here? I think we got a microphone coming right behind you. Although wearing those boots, I'm guessing you probably have a booming voice, so,
yes,
you know.
you don't you know the microphone. Good morning, Oh, okay. Again, good morning, and Buna Devanecha, and that's a good panel, good discussion. I have two immediate, and two questions, one immediate challenging, and one is a long-term challenging. The first immediate challenging question is that the driving habit in Bucharest. When I drive, safety is always concerned. I always pray for the safety and the time. So do you have any initiative, part of the government, how to mitigate some of the risk that we are driving compared to US and here? The second question is a question that I'll tap into Jack about the brain drain, that we see that Romania has a lot of talents and you give them all the tools and knowledge, then the high pools of knowledge that go to other country and work there. So what other initiative you have to stop them, or you have a long-term plan to make them stay here so that we get benefit of the pool? Thank you.
So regarding the infrastructure, so first of all, I can tell you that there are, projects are ongoing. So one of the priorities for the government, it's first of all, as far as I know, to finish the ring of the city and to build the secondary ring. So there are two big projects which are ongoing. Then for what I know from the mayor of the city, they are cooperating right now with an IT and software company in order to use the entire, let's say, free space that we have in traffic, like a Waze, but trying to create a central system so we really can get a better traffic. And the second question was for you, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I more probably raised the issue. I'm not sure if I have the solution for it necessarily. Obviously, from our perspective, we are constantly trying to scan the market, and actually are even working with some agencies. There are some agencies who are now emerging in terms of trying to connect with the Romanians outside and trying to, let's say, map the talent there, and also recruit them back. So we're working with them to fill our needs, and obviously the people who are in our system we know so very well. So those people are all in our radar as well. But I think the issue is obviously larger than just with us. And as I said earlier, I see this as a big opportunity if we can somehow find a way to motivate these people to come back, because they also are equipped now with a different type of experience, which can be very useful here. So not only to come back as smart people, but come back with more rounded and a different, let's say, experienced smart people. So I see this as a huge potential for businesses if that can happen. It's not easy, but it's something worth looking for, definitely.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you have a government initiative for the business to see how those two go hand in hand, to make sure that we have any initiative and support to stop them, or have something to think in a different direction?
So first of all, when we look on numbers, we can see that this trend of of the workforce leaving to other countries, it's decreasing step by step. I think it's a very, very important topic, and I started to really think about the strategy. And we have a certain strategy, and I believe that till the end of this year, we can have a serious discussion in the government about that. We have over 4 million Romanians which are outside our borders, because we are in the free market and it was their decision to work in other countries. But right now things are changing. So mainly they started to, let's say, to move to the west part of Europe 10 years ago when we become state members heavily. So we are talking about between 4 and 5 million Romanians which are working abroad. And I believe that we have a huge potential bringing them back, or part of them. because they are coming back with the know-how, with the knowledge, and they can bring technology, transfer of technology, they can bring know-how to our economy, they can bring their own business back to the economy. But in the end, I think that also they are expecting and they are waiting for Romania as a country to provide them, let's say, a higher standard of living. And I can tell you from a very, very, let's say, fresh research that we've done that 70% out of the people which are out of Romania, 70% of them, so out of 4 to 5 million, we're talking about 3 million Romanians, they want to come back to Romania in the next 5 years. When we're looking on the short term, in the next 3 years, 40% of the 4 million wants to come back to our country. So we need to understand better what we can do for them. If we can create something which will be like a governmental program supporting them coming back to Romania. And I think there is a great potential in bringing back very well, very skilled, very prepared labor force for our economy. And of course, we have this, let's say, tool which we need to use better right now, because the environment in Romania is becoming better, the standard of living in Romania is becoming better. So I think we give them more and more reasons for them to come back, and they are missing also their families and they are missing home. But in the same time, we need to create also the legal frame for them to be easier for them to apply and to come back to Romania. Sure.
If I could just make an observation on that too, more anecdotal. I've seen many more resumes coming across my desk from lawyers who have left to, let's say, make their fortune in the West. But I think it shouldn't be understated, the quality of life in Romania. If you look at it from an American perspective, they value family, they value vacation and free time. This is motivating, particularly a lot of the millennials now. You interview these folks and they're very much interested in this sort of non-tangible quality of life. And if you flash back 15, 20 years ago when you would meet diaspora Romanians, oftentimes it seemed like they were rationalizing. It's not that they necessarily wanted to leave Romania, but they felt they needed to. And they'd heard from their parents when they couldn't leave the country that at your earliest opportunity, get out, make your fortune. But I think now there's an appreciation that Romania really has graduated into being a European country. It offers, okay, the salaries are not yet, as we saw, where they should be, but in certain sectors they are competitive. If you look again, it was mentioned by the minister, they miss their families, they miss what is a beautiful country. If you get out of, even Bucharest has improved tremendously in the last 20 years, but if you get into the countryside, there's a lot going for Romania. And I think at the end of the day, more and more Romanians want to come back and bring that knowledge that they've learned in whatever industry sector. And my hope and expectation is these folks will come back and they will contribute and further propel Romania forward. So it is an issue currently, but I think you're going to see this start to swing the other way. That's my hope anyway.
Over here.
Thank you for the presentation. William Bennett from Harikot Consulting, LLC, based in Washington, D.C. You mentioned that there are certain tax advantages for IT companies that locate in Romania, but for non-IT companies, can you comment upon what tax advantages there are in Romania relative to other countries in the neighborhood?
Okay. So as I said, and I can be exactly more specific because there are many details and I want you to get the exactly details. So we have for the IT&C industry, it's zero income tax for employees, okay? Zero income tax for employees. For the R&D sector, we have zero corporate tax for the R&D companies and zero income tax for the employees. And those two, let's say, main measures which the government took several years ago helped very, very much the industry to develop. We have zero tax for profit which is reinvested in the company. And for small companies, we introduced this year a very new and I think very competitive taxation system, okay? Because we wanted to bring as much Romanians as we can to the middle class. This is one of our main priorities as a government. So in the beginning of this year, we introduced, let's say, a maximum wage of 500,000 euro as a turnover for small companies, okay? And as long as you stay inside these 500,000 euros a year as a turnover, you'll pay 1% of your turnover as a tax to the government, and you'll pay no other tax, no other profit tax. You'll pay just 5% when you want to take your dividends out of your company. So think there is a company, let's say a small business company, and they're doing 300,000 a year as a turnover, okay? And they're supposed to pay 1%, which means 3,000 euros to the government, and that's all the taxes that they are paying, an additional 5% dividends, okay? So this is for companies up to 500,000. Normally, we have the unique code, which is 16% right now, okay? So for normal, for small and big size companies, the taxes today are 16% profit tax and 5% dividend. So I think we are in the top 3 or 4 most competitive, let's say, countries from the taxation point of view from the European Union.
Time for one more question. There's a microphone right behind you.
The Ministry of Finance just announced today that they will take into consideration the decrease of the income tax from 16 to 10% from the next year. It's just the latest announcement from this morning.
Sure. Yes, but it's not for all categories. It's just for the income, for the salaries. The income tax will be reduced from 16 to 10%, yes. It's part of
the facts into consideration.
Yes.
Last question.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Teodora Baba. I'm from the western part of Romania, and I live in Washington State. I left Romania in 2003, like many other Romanians, looking for opportunities abroad. We talked about the challenge of finding human capital here in Romania. If you would ask me today if I would come back to Romania, I would say I don't know. Right now, I have an established life in the United States, and I have a family in the United States. But I also have a family here in Romania, and my parents who would love to have me back. My question for you is, what is it done for Romanians who are very qualified and who would like to come back to Romania? Because if I get a salary that was presented over there that is competitive, but is not at the level that I would get in the United States, I would not come back. Thank you.
I believe that Romania really started this not very short, let's say, road, but surely and safely Romania is going to the right direction. And we are trying to be more competitive in the European Union. We're trying to be more visible in the world stage. I believe that Romania has huge talent in our country. And I believe that step by step, government by government, we created better environment. And that's why those big companies, those multinational companies are coming more and more to our country because they appreciated what is happening with Romania. And step by step, of course, we still have to improve the infrastructure, but this is really a top priority for the government. Then, you cannot compare salaries, of course, from the United States to Romania, but in the same time, the cost of living in Romania, it's much cheaper comparing to the US. So it's, again, a fact of value for money. So, I mean, in Romania, it will be cheaper comparing to other countries to have the same standard of living. So, of course, you need to understand better what you want. But from my point of view, you're a special case because you are living in Washington, of course, and it's far. In the end, it's far from Romania. It's also this time zone difference. But think about millions of Romanians which are living in Spain, Italy. They miss home. They want to come back. They are working very hard. And if you look on the construction field, okay, so the construction industry today, you see that we really need to bring back people to Romania because we arrived in a certain situation that it will be more, better, and they will get in the end more money in the end of the month working in Romania where they have their own house, their own family, than working in Italy or Spain, getting maybe double as a salary but spending on living costs and rent and so on. So in the end, I believe that Romanians, if they can get the same standard of living, okay, even though in Romania they will have a lower salary, they will prefer to come back, and we are very close to be there.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank the panel for taking the time, thank the audience for being active and asking good questions. I will end with the same joke I started with, in the sense that Dracula is very scary for children. But I would also say that when the government says, I'm here to help you, that's scary for businesses, right? Businesses don't want to hear that, whether it's the US or Romanian government. But let me put a plug in for both of our governments, because these kind of events and these kind of conferences are very helpful, obviously, for American and Romanian companies. And so the government is a little bit less scary. But also let me put a plug in for the Department of Commerce and for the business Ministry of Business Environment. For those companies here, US companies that are throughout the United States, whether you're in California or Georgia or Virginia, there are resources in the Department of Commerce in almost every one of those states. Tap into those resources. There are also your ministry also has offices throughout the United States as well. So tap into those offices, use those resources. Do not be afraid of the government, because actually there are good programs to really help you. So thank you all very much, and thanks to the panel.
Thank you very much.